Welcome to the news on NTA International, reaching you from Abuja. You can watch this news live on the social media handles displayed on your screen. I'm Lami Ali. Precious Ozoimina is the sign language interpreter. Let's now take the headlines. African leaders concede to evolving comprehensive and innovative approach in combating terrorism on the continent. National dialogue on state police holds in Abuja, the nation's capital city. European Union ministers meet with a call for a speed-up process of arms delivery to Ukraine. Terrorism is evolving in Africa, and so relevant players on the side of the states must equally evolve more comprehensive and innovative approaches towards combating terrorism on the continent. This was the common ground of leaders at the high-level African counter-terrorism meeting holding in Abuja. President Bola Tinubu, who declared the meeting open, and his counterparts from Ghana and Togo believe the counter-terrorism solutions must be all-encompassing.
Nigeria remains firmly committed to fighting terrorism and violent extremism. They our most urgent national security threat. Our counter-terrorism capabilities have been enhanced through enactment of Terrorism Prevention and Prohibition Act, establishing the National Counter-Terrorism Center, NCTC. We have and will continue to take bold steps in safeguarding our nation and the wider region. Our security forces continue to demonstrate great courage, dedication, and bravery in fighting against terrorism. I salute them. Often at great personal risk, I am grateful to the selfless work and sacrifice of these patriotic men and women. They are the best of the best.
Still on security, the federal government says the idea of state police is not just a mere policy proposal, but a potential milestone in strengthening the nation's internal security architecture. Vice President Kashim Shettima stated this when he declared open a one-day national dialogue on the state policing with the theme Pathways to Peace, Reimagining Policing in Nigeria, held in Abuja. State House correspondent Abdurrahman Jubrila reports.
We view the outcomes of today's deliberations as crucial inputs that will guide government's actions towards reforming the institutions of the police and achieving a safer and more secure Nigerian.
This is coming as the Tinubu administration is aware of the complex security issues confronting Nigeria. Part of measures to address challenges are developing and refining of strategies.
It gladdens my heart that the 10th House of Representatives, under the Speaker, Right Honorable Dr. Tajuddin Abbas, has keyed into this initiative of the President. The involvement of the legislature in executive reform proposals ensures continuity and synergy. Let us use this opportunity to engage and explore every option with the seriousness and diligence they demand.
He implored participants at the national dialogue to look at the idea of state policing from multiple angles, saying the president deserves commendation for being open and proactive towards the idea of reforming and decentralizing the police force.
And diversity. As Vice President, I am deeply invested in the outcomes of today's discussions. The insights we gain will inform our administration's approach to supporting legislation that not only enhances the capacity of our police force, but also strengthens the bonds of trust between law enforcement and the public.
Former President Goodluck Jonathan and former Head of State General Abdulsalami Abubakar advised that the traditional institutions should be given a role to play and be engaged in maintaining peace and order in their domains.
It is absolutely necessary the politicians, as much as possible, should avoid exerting influence on the ways the police is going to operate, if at all we agree to have the police.
We have to debate is how do we run the state police vis-a-vis the national security architecture of the country. The issue of the need for states to have their own police is not negotiable. There's no way we can continue this kidnapping that is going on in this country.
Comprehensive training programs on ethics, human rights, and professional conduct should be implemented to instill a culture of integrity and respect for the rule of law within state police forces.
The national dialogue gained momentum after President Tinubu called a meeting of governors and other stakeholders at the presidential villa to discuss issues of establishing state police in the country, and the National Assembly is currently considering a bill towards that direction. In Abuja, Abraham Jibrila, NTA News.
Adopting a multi-layer security approach, such as the establishment of state police to address insecurity in Nigeria, has become indispensable. This is coming from the National Dialogue on State Police convened by the House of Representatives. National Assembly correspondent Ignatius Nkwo reports.
The issue of state police has been a recurring legislative proposal. Another season of constitutional alteration is here, and the House of Representatives believes there is need for a more objective and strategic engagement on the clamor for state police. This will lead to the alteration of the 1999 Constitution to remove police from the exclusive to concurrent list.
In Nigeria, we are optimistic that through collaborative efforts and commitment to evidence-based solutions, we can establish a policing system that is not only effective in combating crime, but also earns the trust of Nigerians and corporations between law enforcement and the communities they serve.
Security lawmaking is to ensure that any initiative, such as establishing state policing, adheres to our Constitution and aligns with the broader goals of national security and our public welfare.
This national dialogue, supported by Policy and Legal Advocacy Center, UK International Development, and the United Nations Development Programme, was a platform for present and former leaders and members of the diplomatic community to present their convictions on the prospect of state police. Beyond the idea of decentralization of police in Nigeria, the debate focused on addressing the fears of those opposed to it.
That the way to go might actually be to decentralize the police in a way that ensures that the decentralization of the police safeguards it from abuse.
In my home country, Germany, each of the 16 federal states have their own state police, their own police laws, and their own police training institutions.
The present security situation in Nigeria today has called for a thoughtful review of the policing system that is in line with both our local and international best practices.
If we are able to set up state police departments, we must ensure that they are free from shackles of politics, religious extremism, tribalism.
The Nigerian Police Force, on its part, is not in support of creating state police. It, however, recommended adequate funding and strengthening of the federal police in line with the theme of the dialogue, Pathways to Peace and Repositioning Policing in Nigeria.
State governors could use police forces under their control for political or personal gain.
The constitutional alteration bill on the establishment of state police has already scaled second reading in the House of Representatives. Ignatius Nkwo, NTA News.
Well, Central African Republic President Faustin Todera declares 3 days of national mourning on Monday for victims of a riverboat disaster. Authorities have said 58 bodies were retrieved from the Mpoko River in the capital Bangui after the vessel capsized on Friday as it was taking people to the funeral of a village chief. Charles Alpha reports.
Presidential decree broadcast on state radio on Monday said 3 days of national mourning would be observed in memory of the victims of the tragic incident. The wooden boat was carrying more than 300 people, some standing according to witnesses and videos on social media. Search operations are continuing and the provisional death toll could rise. Shortly after setting off, the flat-bottomed whaler boat gave way under the weight of the passengers on board. A government spokesman on Saturday announced an inquiry would be opened to establish the causes and responsibility. He also said a support system would be set up for victims' families. River transport is a key way of getting around the Central African Republic due to the poor state of the roads. Whaler boats are common in Central Africa, but are often dilapidated, overcrowded, and also used to carry goods and cattle. In 2015, a river barge was destroyed in a fire after the engine exploded, leaving 100 people missing in the Obangi River. The United Nations ranks Central African Republic as the second least developed country in the world. Charles Alpha, NTA News.
And from UK comes a report that the Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak, affirms that deportation flights of asylum seekers to Rwanda will begin in mid-June as the plan enters its final stage in Parliament. Sunak tells a Downing Street news conference that anyone who arrives UK illegally will not be able to stay. Comfort Fashion brings us the details.
The first flight will leave in 10 to 12 weeks. Now, of course, that is later than we wanted, but we have always been clear.
The legislation this time around is Sunak's answer to a Supreme Court ruling last year that sending migrants to Rwanda was illegal under the international law. Sunak said following several weeks of legislative to and fro between its two chambers, the passage of the bill by the parliament will finally ensure the safety of asylum seekers.
The only way to stop the boats is to eliminate the incentive to come, by making it clear that if you arrive here illegally, you will not be able to stay.
The new bill will compel judges to regard the East African nation as a safe third country and give ministers the power to disregard sections of international and British human rights law. Sunak said it is important to data records numbers of asylum seekers crossing the channel to England from France in a small boat.
The truth is, we need innovative solutions to address what is a global migration crisis, to disrupt the business model of people smuggling gangs and save lives. And
the UK is due to go to the polls in a general election later this year. And the Tories, who promised tighter immigration law after the UK left the European Union, are expected to be trounced by the main opposition Labour Party after 14 years in power. More than 120,000 people have crossed the channel on rudimentary vessels since 2018. And so far, no migrants have been sent to Rwanda. Comfort, Fashion, NTA News.
You're watching the news on NTA International. The news now takes a short break. More stories in a moment. Do stay tuned. Governor Lucky Aiyedatiwa has been declared winner of the Ondo State All Progressives Congress APC governorship primary election held last Saturday. The governor was declared winner by the chairman of the APC governorship primary election committee and governor of Kogi State, Ahmed Usman Ododo in Akure. Abiola Ariu has the details.
Lucky Orimisan Aiyedatiwa is hereby returned elected and he is declared the winner.
Having won in 16 out of 17 local government areas where the primary election was conducted, the Kogi State Governor said the result, as announced, is subject to ratification by an emergency APC Special Congress with 5 delegates from each of the 203 wards affirming the victory.
We must set aside our differences and unite behind our candidates, as the case may be.
Supporters of the governor and party leaders react to the declaration.
I'm excited because the will of the people had actually come to pass today.
Reconciliation has just started. We're a party, we're a strong party, we'll be stronger.
The governor appreciated President Bola Tinubu and the leadership of the party from the national to the state, as well as local and ward levels for his emergence, while acknowledging other aspirants and stakeholders for the successful conduct of the primary. He underscored the need to close ranks and put aside discordant tunes ahead of the bigger task of winning the governorship election as a party come November 16, 2024.
This is not the time to hold grudge against one another, but for all of us to come together to work for the success of our great party, so as to remain in power.
The primary election did not, however, hold in a federal local government area as a result of violence. In Akure, Abiola Rio, NTA News.
Now, Coordinating Minister of Health and Social Welfare, Mohammed Ali Pati, wants all stakeholders and partners to ensure no woman dies from pregnancy and childbirth-related conditions. The minister, who said this as the press briefing to mark the beginning of Safe Motherhood Week in Nigeria, stressed the need for every newborn to be protected and assisted to thrive into healthy childhood. Basi Itaikpang reports.
National Safe Motherhood Week presents an opportunity to create awareness and generate public discussion on the best strategies and interventions to promote maternal and newborn health. Safe motherhood, the minister noted, is achieved when every pregnant woman received all the pillars of safe motherhood as entrenched in the fundamental principle of equity.
We aim to reach at least 7 million pregnant women through those services over time per year, and at least 6 million newborn births. That's an aspiration. We are not there yet, but that's on an annual basis what we should be aiming for, to ensure that no woman is left behind when it comes to access to quality maternal care.
Some stakeholders and partners regret that, despite the progress made, it is disheartening to note that many lives are still lost to preventable complications during pregnancy and childbirth.
Special call for all stakeholders to double up efforts to see that we bend the curve and crush our maternal mortality indices. The body of note that safe motherhood is a priority of the health sector agenda, and rightly so, as over 120,000 frontline health workers capacity will be built, and additional primary healthcare facilities will receive funds under the Basic Healthcare Provision Fund to cater for mothers and children.
We will continue to support all aspects related to family planning, pre- and postnatal care.
This year's theme, investing in maternal health for a sustainable future, with the slogan, "Mother lives, child thrives," stakeholders say is very apt, as it calls on everybody to work together to achieve safer pregnancies and childbirth. Basi Taikman, NTA News.
The surge in global warming as a result of human activities and climate change leaves the Earth on the verge of a tipping point if nothing is done to save it. On World Earth Day, a day set aside to raise awareness about the dire consequences of plastic pollution and land degradation, efforts are being geared towards a 60% reduction in the production of plastics by 2040 and an ultimate goal of building a plastic-free future for generations to come. Charles Alpha reports.
Earth, the third planet from the Sun, and the only astronomical object known to harbor life. This is enabled by water, covering 70.8% of Earth's crust. The rest, land, harboring man, and biodiversity, is now ailing, owing to extreme weather, depletion of the ozone layer, and negative human activities.
We want more consciousness. People should be a lot aware about the pollution, plastic, the environment. We need to keep the environment safe. We need to keep the earth safe.
The United Nations General Assembly proclaimed 22nd of April as International Earth Day to recognize the earth and its ecosystems as humanity's common home and the needs to protect and enhance livelihoods, stop the collapse of biodiversity, and articulate the commitment of nations to limit global temperature rise to less than 2 degrees Celsius over pre-industrial levels.
The earth is where we have for now. They have not been able to find a way for us to be translated to the moon and all of that. So we must keep it alive. We must sustain it and hand it over to our children.
So for us to be able to increase resilience to climate change, we have to come up with activities that will restore the ozone layer.
Planet versus plastic. The theme for this year's World Earth Day. The message on this day is simply unite, and implores nations to adopt policies to curb plastic pollution and unwholesome human activities. Charles Alpha, NTA News.
The 17th meeting of the National Council on Environment by the Federal Ministry of Environment and the Food Organization of the United Nations on mobilization of more financial inflows to support environmental sustainability efforts of government at all levels kicks off in Abuja. Commissioners of Environment and experts from across the Federation will for the next 3 days engage in preliminary deliberations and reflect on the pivotal role of the environmental stewardship in shaping Nigeria's future, particularly allocation of funds to enable it to carry out its functions. Participants will also ensure that they acquaint themselves with the emerging biosafety technology and what government is doing to guarantee safety of Nigerians and their environment.
One of the foremost challenges confronting our sector is the issue of funding, encapsulated in the theme of this year's meeting, which is environment financing, the need to mobilize more windows for generating adequate resources in support of environmental sustainability efforts.
Agricultural application of modern biotechnology, management of pests, improved nutritional value, adoption to environmental structures, development of new antimicrobials, resistance to agrochemical, increased yield and storage.
Groups will be constituted for the period of the Council's meeting based on the major thematic areas in the environment sector, which include climate change and renewable energy, forestry, drought and desertification, pollution control and environmental health, flood, erosion, coastal zone management, environmental impact assessments and regulation issues. Now, dozens of people took part in a ceremony as the Olympic flame made a one-night stop in Thessaloniki during a relay across Greece ahead of the Paris Games. Charles Alpha brings us the details.
Locals ran with the torch as well as the ceremony of the lighting of the Olympic cauldron, which was attended by several authorities, including Thessaloniki's Mayor Stellos Angelotis and Consul of France in Greece, Lawrence Awa. On April 16, hundreds of spectators gathered in the birthplace of the Olympic Games in Greece's Peloponnesian Peninsula to witness the ceremonial lighting of the Paris 2024 Olympic flame. The 2024 Olympic Games are scheduled to take place in Paris, France from July 26 to August 11. This will be the third time the French capital will be hosting the Summer Olympics after 1900 and 1924. Charles Alpha, NTA News.
Tuesday's weather forecast for Nigeria and other cities of the world is next. And that will be all for now on the news on NTA International. We thank you for watching. Precious Ozomina has been the sign language interpreter, and I am Lamia Ali. Do have a good evening.